Welcome. In this session, I'm going to discuss about nervous system, nervous system disorders. So, under these nervous system disorders, I'm going to discuss about epilepsy, then another one called Parkinson's disease, and another one Alzheimer's disease, and one more uh, Huntington's chorea. Okay, so now first we'll see about this epilepsy. So here, epilepsy is caused by abnormal and irregular discharges. Irregular discharge of electricity electricity from millions of neurons in the brain, from millions of neurons in the brain. So it's a abnormal irregular discharge of electricity from millions of neurons in the brain. So what are the causes of this epilepsy? So the causes, it include maybe a brain damage during childhood, a brain damage during childhood may be the reason, and then there may be certain conditions like encephalitis, which is inflammation of brain, or maybe meningitis, which is inflammation of meninges, right? And then there are other causes like brain tumors. Then okay, vascular disturbances like hemorrhages. So maybe hemorrhages. So hemorrhages are breakdown of blood vessels, breakdown of blood vessels in brain, breakdown of blood vessels in brain. So that's also called that is called hemorrhage. Okay, then there may be a clot in blood vessels, a clot in blood vessels in the brain. So that is also responsible for causing epilepsy. Then even in some conditions like the metabolic disturbances, so the metabolic disturbances like hypoglycemia, so the low sugar level, and even in case of hyper glycemia conditions, and in renal failure conditions can also result in such kind of epilepsy. So these are some reasons for epilepsy. And here symptoms coming to symptoms, what we see symptoms in the persons here. So there will be jerky involuntary contractions, jerky involuntary contractions of skeletal muscles, contraction of skeletal muscles, and this is what we call as convulsions. So they are called convulsions. Okay, so the person may show a jerky involuntary contractions of the skeletal muscles, right? Then there will be an impaired motor function, impaired motor function. so which means not able to walk or pick a glass properly. So all these are impaired motor functions here, and there may be even biting of jaws and tongue can also take place. Then there will be shortness of breath. There will be shortness of breath. Okay. Then there will be even urination and defecation. So that takes place all involuntarily. Then there will be even sensation of light even though there is no light. Okay, and even there will be sensation of smell and noise, okay, even in the absence of those stimulus. So even in the absence of stimulus. So these are some symptoms of epilepsy. So here there is no permanent treatment for epilepsy. Only there are certain drugs that can be used to control epilepsy in course of time, and only with a proper medical care an epileptic person can lead a normal life. So in some we will even use okay, gamma amino butyric acid, gamma amino butyric acid. So this is called in short GABA. So this will inhibit nerve impulses, so can be used to treat this epilepsy, but there is no complete treatment. Only those epileptic conditions can be uh, controlled by using certain kind of drugs. The next one we shall say about Parkinson's disease. Say about Parkinson's disease. So here, this Parkinson's disease is actually named after a physician, James Parkinson. So this disease is also called paralysis agitans, or also called trembling palsy. Also called trembling palsy. So usually it occurs in the age group of 50 to 70 years, and this is actually a progressive degenerative motor disorder of central nervous system. So there is a degeneration of certain kind of okay neurons that results in motor functions impairing. So hence the person finds difficulty in walking, right, and even lifting the hands properly, right. So these will take place due to degeneration of these okay motor neurons. So progressive degenerative motor disorder of the central nervous system. Here let's see the causes of this Parkinson's disease. So here in the midbrain there is a structure called substantia nigra in the midbrain. So this substantia nigra is present in midbrain. So this actually secretes a hormone called dopamine. It produces a hormone called dopamine, and this dopamine has inhibitory function. It has inhibitory function, so that inhibits motor activity. So that is, it inhibits motor activity. It inhibits motor activity. So the axons of neurons present in the substantia nigra, they terminate in basal ganglia of cerebrum. So substantia nigra. So the substantia nigra, right, axons, substantia nigra axons, they terminate in basal ganglia. So terminate in basal ganglia in the cerebrum. In the cerebrum. So these basal ganglia secrete another neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine, and that has a excitatory function. So it will stimulate motor. So here the basal ganglia will produce a hormone called acetylcholine. So this acetylcholine is excitatory. So it is excitatory, okay, function, and stimulates motor activity. So it stimulates motor activity. Motor activity. Now in Parkinson's disease, what happens is, okay, the neurons which are present in the substantia nigra, they degenerate. So here in substantia nigra, neurons degenerate. The neurons degenerate. Okay, so as a result, the dopamine uh, release will get decreased. So that is, this results in reduced dopamine quantity. Reduced dopamine quantity. Now coming to the causes. So what are the causes here? So we believe that there are okay, so two causes mainly. One is it is inherited. So inherited, and like, there may be even some environmental factors. So those environmental factors, and or maybe it is inherited from the, okay, parents. So because of this, and environmental factors, the disease can uh, start in a person. And of course it will be, as I said, it is a very it takes time. So it's a very much a progressive degeneration of these neurons in the substantia nigra that takes place in a long course of time. Now coming to these symptoms in this case. So symptoms will actually first result in tremors. So in first they will result in tremors in hands, okay, then legs, then even in hands, I'm sorry, and okay, tremors in hands and legs we will see. Okay, and these tremors are prominent when resting than while moving. So it means seen very clearly. So these are prominent, so seen very clearly when resting. So there will be movement in the hands and legs. Okay, so that's tremors here. And then, so in the next one, the muscles of face become stiff. So muscles in face, they become stiff. So because of this, there will be an unblinking expression. So there will be unblinking expression, and the person speaks in a very low tone. Then there will be walking becomes slow. So there will be walking that will become slow. So it becomes slow, and this condition we call it bradykinesia. It's called bradykinesia. Then also it becomes difficult, and the memory and thinking also severely impaired. So memory and thinking is severely impaired. So the person loses memory and okay, and thinking abilities also. So here there is no permanent treatment for this disease also, that is Parkinson's disease. And here only there are certain kind of medicines that are available to control this disease. Only to control the symptoms we have certain kind of disease, but no, I mean in this case, but there is no permanent drugs available to treat this disease, just like how we have seen in case of epilepsy. So the next one we'll see about Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease. So coming to this, okay, this disease is also called senile dementia. Is called senile dementia, okay, or also called Alzheimer's, right? So Alzheimer's dementia. So here dementia, which means loss of memory, is a feature that we see in this disease. And here this is a, right, again just like Parkinson's, a gradually progress disorder. Okay, so it's a progressive, uh, and the patients gradually becoming less able to function, and eventually they need to be even dressed, means assisted in many cases, even taking bath or dressing, and even eating the food someone have to assist. So that much the problem causes in this Alzheimer's disease. And in this disorder there is a massive shrinkage of brain tissue, and this is caused due to death of neurons. It's caused due to death of neurons in many areas of brain. So in many areas of brain the neurons they die, and as a result, okay, the brain shrinks. Okay, so these areas of the brain will also include the cerebral cortex, especially cerebral cortex. Even neurons die in case of hippocampus regions, etc. Now what could be the cause here, right? So this cause the early onset, so early onset of symptoms is relate or linked to genes. So linked to genes that are located on chromosome 14 and 21, linked to the genes present on chromosome 14 and 21, right? Whereas late onset of symptoms, so these are linked to genes located on chromosome 19. Okay, so here this disease is characterized by lesions in the brain and degeneration of cell bodies of certain neurons, okay, in the basal part of the forebrain also takes place. So here the lesions will contain, so these lesions will contain extracellular deposits. So these extracellular deposits are called neuritic plaques, are called neuritic plaques. So these neuritic plaques are made up of a waxy fibrous protein. So made up of waxy fibrous protein, and that is called beta amyloid. So beta amyloid. So this beta amyloid is a toxic substance. So this is a neurotoxic substance. Is a neurotoxic substance. So now the affected cell bodies. So or the cell bodies of the affected neurons. The cell bodies of affected neurons will contain dense bundles of paired helical filaments. So those are called neurofibrillary tangles. So contains neurofibrillary tangles. So these are, okay, dense bundles. So these are dense bundles of, right, paired helical filaments, of paired helical filaments. Okay, so these neurofibrillary tangles, we can also call them as Alzheimer's, also called Alzheimer's neurofibrillary tangles. Okay, and these neurofibrillary tangles are composed of again proteins, which we call them tau proteins. So they are composed of tau proteins. Okay, so here we can see, so in the brain you may find, okay, some structure. So this is what we call it amyloid plaque, and this amyloid plaque will be surrounded around by the neurofibrillary tangles. So say this is a amyloid plaque, and around this amyloid plaque you may find, and just so these are called neurofibrillary tangles, called neurofibrillary tangles, and at the center we have is the amyloid plaque, is amyloid plaque. So what are these amyloid plaques? So here amyloid plaques. So these amyloid plaques are aggregates of misfolded. So they are aggregates of misfolded proteins. They are aggregates of misfolded proteins that form that form in the spaces between nerve cells, that form in the spaces between nerve cells. Okay, so these usually as I have discussed, they are seen in Alzheimer's disease, and as they develop first in the areas of the brain where there is memory and cognitive functions. So because of this, the person loses memory, and that's why we call this disease also as dementia, so Alzheimer's dementia. Okay, so right. And uh, the degeneration, so there is a degeneration of cell bodies, as I told. There is a degeneration of cell bodies in the brain, and this will result in deficiency of neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. So the cell body's death will cause the deficiency of neurotransmitter acetylcholine, and if there is no transmission of impulses between neurons, that will result actually in dementia. So let's see symptoms of this disease. So here there will be a loss of memory. So there is loss of memory, and even there will be loss of mental abilities of a person. Then there will be disorientation. Disorientation. Then there will be confusion, and even we'll see personality changes in those persons. Then the person may also feel hallucinations. So hallucinations are conditions where the person starts feeling that something is present in the absence of it. So he perceives that something is present, okay, or big, small, however. So right. So in the absence of stimulus, he feels that it is present. So that's what we call hallucinations. And okay, already we know the dementia. I think already I mentioned the loss of memory. So this we can take it as a dementia condition. And then there will be even loss of reasoning in the person. Then later in course of time, the person will be unable to take control of himself or herself. So inability to take care of oneself. Then there will be even inability in eating, walking, writing, okay, even talking and reading. And as usual with that other diseases we I have discussed, the epilepsy, the Parkinson's disease, along with this, there is no permanent treatment. Only certain drugs are available which help to control the situation, but no permanent treatment is available. So the last one is about Huntington's chorea. Huntington's chorea. So this is also called degenerative chorea, or simply it's called Huntington's disease. It's called Huntington's disease, in short HD. Right. So let's see. This is actually named after an U.S. physician named George Huntington, who actually first described. So his name is George Huntington. So this person first described this disorder. So here this is an inherited, so it is an inherited degenerative disorder of brain, inherited degenerative disorder of the brain. So this leads to, so those causes, it causes the brain damage and death. Okay, so that uh, results in brain damage and death of the person. Okay, so then it is characterized by a condition called chorea. So what is the meaning of this chorea is involuntary purposeless movements. So we'll see involuntary purposeless movements, and this disease is caused by an autosomal gene, so that is present on, okay, of course this autosomal dominant gene, we'll say autosomal dominant gene, that is present on chromosome, that is present on fourth chromosome. Okay, and this autosomal dominant gene is responsible for synthesis of so it synthesizes an abnormal protein, and that is called Huntington protein. It's called Huntington protein. So this Huntington protein formally binds to neurons. So this protein formally binds to neurons, and binding of this Huntington's protein to the neurons will prevent the normal functioning of the neuron. So that results in preventing normal functions prevents in normal functions of, okay, neurons. Okay, and then insufficiency of GABA. Okay, so there will be even less production or insufficient production of okay, gamma amino butyric acid. Okay, so this right is an, a neurotransmitter, and it is seen in this Huntington's chorea. So there is an insufficiency of this GABA. Of course, the enzyme that is required for the formation of this GABA, which is called glutamic acid decarboxylase. So there is a enzyme called glutamic acid decarboxylase. So this is also present in very low quantities, and because of that the synthesis of GABA is also reduced. Okay, now coming to the symptoms. So the symptoms of this disorder, so they usually appear at the age of 30 to 40 years. So symptoms, so okay, appear at age of 30 to 40, and then it progresses to death at 55. So, and it progresses to death at age 55. So I'm telling approximately. So they may start, the symptoms may start at an age of 30 to 40, and then by the time they reach 55 or to 60, so the persons will die. Okay, so this will include, again in this case, there will be abrupt, okay, there will be abrupt jerky movements. So there will be abrupt jerky movements of arms and legs takes place. So this actually these movements, they look like okay, Saint Vitus dance. So that looks like Saint Vitus dance. Okay, so that is Saint Vitus dance. They look like Saint Vitus dance. So because of that, they have given the name here chorea. So the chorea, which actually means, okay, dance. And again, there will be involuntary facial expressions like showing disgust and pain, and the persons will also have the problem of dementia, and death will occur right within 15 years on onset of symptoms. So like other neural disorders which I have discussed, right, they, as they don't have any permanent treatment, so this disorder also doesn't have any permanent treatment. Okay. uh, in the next session, we'll start with the objective on this chapter.